ReZero Starting Life in Another World Volume 24. After multiple delivery delays, this fine piece of fiction is finally in my hands, and I've thought about just buying the ebook so that I can read it faster, but this isn't just about reading. This is about touching, smelling, looking, caressing it. I'm not just reading a novel here, I am making literary love. And before my weird metaphors get this video taken off of YouTube, let's delve right into ReZero Volume 24. After the previously incredibly well-written character reset, we get into a volume that is very much philosophical, asking questions like, what does it mean to be yourself? What does it mean to exist? Is your existence simply an accumulation of your memories and experiences, or is there a core to your very being? And the most important question of all, for you freaks in the comments, if your voluptuous waifu is in fact a giant demon scorpion with exploding body parts, isn't that just more attractive? So let's get right into Subaru's existential crisis in the oddly flirtatious volume, starting off as usual with the cover. The cover's cute. I think that Meili being featured at this moment in the story makes sense. I really appreciate that the author specifically asked for the giant sandworms to be included in the cover, and I'm happy he did because the contrast between cute girl and giant carnivorous beast is what makes this cover tick. If it was just Meili doing a cute pose, I'm not in any way dissing the Meili stands, but this cover wouldn't quite have the gravitas for this moment in the story. I will say though, I know that Arc 6 ends on volume 25 and I don't know what the cover for that is, or if I know then I forgot about it, but if Arc 6 goes by and my main man Julius still hasn't had a solo cover, then what are we doing, guys? Come on. Looking into the promotional artwork, I immediately have a love-hate relationship with the first one, because I love Meili's feral appearance. I think it's a great look for her and really depicts what she was going through at the time, but Elsa, once again, why is she so cute? I know that the ReZero art style is perhaps overly cutesy, and that is ironic since the series is not cute at all, but what happened to that mysterious, seductive mistress from volumes 1 and especially volume 15? Why does she look so cute? She's supposed to be this psycho vampire lady, she's supposed to be a grown woman, and yet she looks like she's 15 here. Her face is just way too round and cute, I don't know. The other two images I quite like. I love the Corridor of Memories one, it really helps us depict how this bizarre place would look, and I really like the third one where it's clear somebody just said to the illustrator, hey my man, we need to boost up the sales here, and the illustrator just said, I got you fam. And the tower's mysteries are slowly unfolding, starting off with known pusher off of stairs, Meili. Like I said in my previous video, the suspicion was still out for Meili, and I'm glad that it's her, because her method is very simple-minded and thoughtless, as even Subaru noticed, and it makes sense that it's an immature child that isn't quite well adjusted to society yet. As we can see from her reaction, throwing herself off the stairs at the mere mention of Elsa, she is not quite in a rational state of mind. In Arc 4, it was sort of pushed aside because they were technically the bad guys, but in this volume it's more delved into. Meili lost the person that is most important to her in her entire life, and she's just a child, and not a super sociable child at that, so she does not have the rational, emotional or psychological structure to be able to handle this type of grief. I've mentioned this before, especially when talking about things like Spy Family, but I love when children are written as actual children that are immature and make dumb emotional decisions. I really don't like it, with very few exceptions, when children are written pretty much as mature, intelligent adults, because most of the time it just looks creepy and ruins immersion on the story. Meili is not thinking clearly, she's plagued by grief, and who better to empathize with her than Mr. Suffering himself, Subaru. And ReZero once again continues its tradition of talk therapy, where characters just talk to each other and open up their hearts to someone that cares about them, and they just talk over their issues in order to be able to move forward as people, and it just works. The group's willingness, especially Subaru and Emilius, to forgive and accept Meili really gives her a little bit of closure and allows her to be fully integrated now as a part of the group, somebody that the group can trust on and she can trust on the group back. And the fact that it was Meili this entire time really drives home yet again just how weak Subaru is in this world. He's very fragile. This is something that would not have happened to Emilia or Julius or Rum. It just happened to Subaru because he's just a normal dude with a demonic witch stan and a glutton for punishment, but besides that, he's just a normal dude. Overall, I think this is a turning point for Meili. I think that her character and backstory are interesting. As I've said before, I wish that her character was older because you would get more emotional range out of her and perhaps even more depth to her character. But regardless, I'm very interested in what our little demon beast tamer is going to do moving forward, and I think the author is going to do a good job with it. And of course, this is the 6th arc in the series, and so when they start having this emotional conversation, I just think to myself, okay, they're surely not going to reset this, so this seems like it's going to be the final loop. Subaru is going to be able to beat the tower this time without resetting any more times, and ha ha ha. Of course, the author slaps me in the face once again. And up next, the Eater of Memories, the woman responsible for Subaru's memory loss and the one that goes to Sekhmet's school of hairstyling, Louis. I will start by saying that maybe it's just the way I personally view things, but I was initially very confused at the conversation that Louis was having with Subaru because what she was saying just seemed so bizarre and it felt so wrong to me. Yes, your memories and your lived experiences are part of who you are as a person, but I don't think they strictly define you. They're still the core of your personality, the core of your being, the soul, if you want to go in that direction. So when she was trying so hard to make this distinction between the previous Subaru and the current Subaru, it felt very forced to me, and I just wasn't understanding why she was framing things in that way. It felt weird that she was giving a conversation that, in a way, is the exact opposite of the message this arc is trying to build up to. The author shows, and even some of the other characters comment on this, time and time again, that Subaru is still in a way the same Subaru. He's just missing something. He's just missing a part of himself, in this case his memories, but the person that he is still there. And when it was revealed that she was doing this on purpose so that Subaru would make this distinction himself so that she could eat him again because she can't eat the same person twice, then it all clicked for me and I thought, oh, okay, that's pretty smart, and why am I so naive that we are again in the 6th arc and I'm still trusting in these archbishops? I should know by now these people are completely delusional and deranged and everything they say should not be trusted in any way, but she just seemed like an upstanding young lady, so I thought she was a responsible person. Louis quickly reveals that much like her co-workers at the witch cult, she's completely unhinged, and this line in particular made me chuckle. Because we ate Subaru Natsuki's memories, you're here now, so that makes us almost like your mother. You're his what now? Are you crazy, woman? Are you crazy in the head? Besides her crazy ramblings, she is the first villain, besides maybe Echidna, to know the full truth behind Subaru's authority, and that by itself is fascinating. There's this tension that keeps building up throughout the conversation until you finally realize, oh, she knows. So by this point, I think that Louis is the main villain of Arc 6. I think that is a reasonable assessment. In terms of biggest obstacle, then it's probably Reed or the witch itself, but in terms of actually actively conspiring against our main characters, then Louis is the one to beat. And after they discover that Gluttony's effects do not wear off after defeating them, it makes this whole thing very interesting. Just how is Subaru going to get his memories back? Is it even possible to get Ram and Krush and Julius and Joshua back to who they were? If they cannot be defeated, then can we even reason with these maniacs? How are they going to get their memories back? One thing ReZero does very well is keeping the story interesting at both the discovery and the resolution. There are mystery stories that are very compelling when you're figuring out stuff, but once you start seeing the pieces of the puzzle, they sort of lose steam. Here ReZero keeps you interested all the way through. The overall big puzzle of Arc 6 may be sort of revealed now, but things are still up in the air how they're going to get out of this. And going back to Louis, just what is happening in the scene with Subaru? I swear she was the one who pulled me in, Your Honor. She's like getting pinned down, she's biting his wrist, she's kissing his wrist. Just what am I reading, bro? And then there's the whole scene with Rum right at the beginning of the book. Her eyes flashed, and she was glaring at him from so close that their lips were almost touching. When he pushed her against the wall and brought their faces close together again, Ram demanded that he stop. But her tone was weaker than before. Subaru ignored it and pressed on. Why are these scenes with Ram written in this way? What is happening? She's not a love interest, at least that I think so. And then there's Shaula, who's just existing as a very healthy lady, like someone once said, she will never drown. What is going on in this volume? You have all of these emotional and interesting storylines converging and resolving, and in the middle of all of this, the author just seems horny and it's just spilling over into the story. And the funny thing is, in the middle of all of this steamy vibe, Emilia still gets no action. Once again, and I know that I say this in every volume review, but it keeps happening. Emilia just keeps getting overshadowed by all of the other female characters, and I don't understand why. Even on the emotional moment when Louis was brainwashing Subaru and getting him almost to break, who was the guardian angel that came to Subaru's aid? It sure wasn't Emilia, was it? It was a character that name rhymes with gem, because she is a gem. And yes, I know that it's probably because they were in the corridor of memories and blah blah blah, but it doesn't matter. My main question is, why is Emilia constantly getting written as the side chick? This is my main question, and am I being too harsh? Leave it in the comments below. Speaking of Shaula, we end this volume with an intimate conversation with Shaula, where she reveals that she is, in fact, a scorpion, but once she goes into that form, she just completely loses all control and just goes for it. Hot. And we build up this reveal for the tower's hidden fifth rule, and much like Meili, Shaula's motives for hiding this rule are much more simple-minded than one may have speculated. Shaula didn't tell Subaru the fifth rule because it is implied it would make it very easy for him to climb the tower, and the fifth rule is, according to the Yen Press translation, the destruction of examinations is not forbidden. Okay. I'm sure that in volume 25 this will all make sense, but for now I'm a bit confused as to how that would help. I guess they can destroy the examination of Reed, but how would they do that? What does that entail? It's still not clear to me. And in the final page we have Deja Vu as Subaru vows to save once again a woman that has been waiting for over 400 years. So for somebody called a Lollymancer, he sure is an old lady enthusiast, and we will continue examining Subaru to see if he beats those allegations. As for the Gluttony siblings, the entire storyline is just complete chaos and I love it. Lye getting built up as this super strong fighter just to get unceremoniously beat up in a sneak attack is just so hilarious. But it's clear that they have to do more than just beat them. Maybe Subaru could absorb the gluttony factor somehow and get the memories back? I love that Reed can let himself be eaten by Roy and then he just takes over. It fits his character perfectly. And I love that his intro was like, when Lye was getting super cocky and full of himself, Reed just pops in and says, "Hey guys, I noticed that he was super full of himself, and I must state I am the most full of myself that there can be." The whole possessed guy being so strong that he takes over the possessor is something that has already been done in Jujutsu Kaisen, for example, and in many other stories. I'm not saying this plot point is super innovative, but it is my type of cheesy and I love it. Reed is clearly too strong for them to handle, and I'm guessing there will be a big payoff with Julius, but I just can't see Julius beating him straight up in a one-on-one fight, so I'm guessing they will have to handle him somehow. They either must stop Gluttony from taking over his body and giving him freedom of movement, or they have to teleport him someplace else, or send him away, or seal him, or somehow. I'm still very interested in how they're going to deal with this Reed conundrum. And Subaru has unlocked his Corleones, because, you know, he's going for the polyamorous route, so he has that in common with the previous user of Greed. But he has unlocked this ally radar detection thingy, and I'm all for it. It seems super useful. Not only is this ability incredibly useful for a character like Subaru that relies on teamwork and strategizing and information gathering, but also it seems to be sort of a passive ability that has less of a toll on him than the factor of sloth. And I'm sure the web novel readers are smiling at me because of course Subaru can't have nice things for free, that's not how ReZero works, but I'm sure the toll will be revealed later on. I'm hoping that Subaru gets the factor of gluttony to hopefully solve all of these memory problems. I'm not super hopeful, but it would be cool, and also it would fit his character because it wouldn't be a combat ability necessarily, but him having access to lost memories in the corridor of memories or something would fit his information gathering theme and his useless in combat theme. Finally, I just want to quickly run down through some funny or weird moments in the book, like when Rum says she has a kind motherly nature, and that's just super funny. Rum is hilarious in this volume as usual. Then I googled Emilia's weight, but I couldn't find it, and I know that people in this world are stronger because of magic power or whatever, sure, but the mental visual of Emilia, the skinny girl, just pulling up Subaru and Meili on the stairs was just so funny to me. Then there's this gem. Subaru patted her head as kindly as he could, not strangling her, which it makes sense in the context of the story, but it's just so bizarre and so funny to read, it made me chuckle. Then there's Lye during the fight bragging that he has high Q. Is this like a yen press translation moment, or does the Archbishop of Gluttony browse Reddit frequently? It just seems such a bizarre line to have. And lastly, there's this line of dialogue from our main dork, Subaru. Emilia, it's out to me. Could you imagine being in a high-pressure, stressful situation and Subaru is just screaming scientific words like autotomy? Like, is this a Japanese word that is common and it's just lost in translation? Surely there's gotta be a more efficient and intuitive way of conveying this information. So this has been Volume 24, Arc 6 is coming together, and for all you snarky web novel readers that commented on every single ReZero anime episode thread, you think this is peak? Wait until you get to Arc 6. You are forgiven. Arc 6 has in fact been very good, and honestly, if it keeps going like this and the author sticks to landing, which I'm sure that he will, Arc 6 will overtake Arc 3 as my personal favorite arc. And speaking of the next volume, Volume 25 is scheduled to come out on July of 2024. Once again, we have to do this, don't we? Yen Press, I've told you once, I will tell you again, the beatings will continue until the release schedule improves. Just look at it. It's so fluffy. It's so fluffy. Why do you make me do this? It's so unnecessary. So for all of you, be sure to leave a like and subscribe and leave a comment with your thoughts on Volume 24. And because of Yen Press, this fluffy Monokuma has to suffer. So, see you next time, and ciao. Yen Press!